WandaVision is one hell of a weird show, and whether you love it or are just plain confused, you'll want to know how it connects with the rest of the MCU. And like any great mystery, there are a ton of clues that reveal the show's connections to the Avengers, Spider-Man, and even the X-Men. Yippee-ki-yay, movie lovers, I'm Jan, and in this video I'm explaining the weirdest and most perplexing scenes, theories, MCU references, and Easter eggs in WandaVision. Plus I'll explain the new Phase 4 villains like Mephisto and Grim Reaper that we can expect to see in the show. Spoilers and speculation ahead, of course. Set in the town of Westview, WandaVision takes place in a strange new sitcom reality that Wanda appears to have created for herself. A clue that Wanda and Vision are living inside their own bubble reality or pocket dimension is the curious design of Vision's tie with 2 dots inside a rectangle with 2 more dots on the outside. And given the sword encampment that's been set up in this wooded area and a strange energy field nearby, it suggests that Wanda may have taken over a town with her powers. This would explain why the real world occasionally seems to leak into Wanda's alternate reality, such as when a voice on the radio calls out to Wanda,
"Wanda, who's doing this to you, Wanda?"
and when Dottie asks who she really is.
Who are you?
A similar moment happens when Mr. Hart is choking at the dinner table, and his wife tells him over and over to stop it, although this instruction seems to be almost directed towards Wanda instead.
Stop it! Stop it! Stop it!
It's a very weird and creepy moment, especially as after Vision uses his phasing ability to pull out the food, everyone seems to forget that anything happened and they leave. I think that Wanda may be using her reality bending or illusion inducing powers that we saw her use in Age of Ultron against the Avengers to maintain the sort of idealized world she's created for herself in Westview. It appears that characters can actually get hurt though, such as when Dottie cuts her hand and we see the blood in actual colour. By the way, the voice on the radio sounds a lot like Randall Park, aka Jimmy Woo from Ant-Man and the Wasp, who we know is now working for SWORD in WandaVision. SWORD is the acronym for the Sentient Weapon Observation and Response Division, and you can see they're the ones monitoring Wanda and Vision at the end of the first episode. It also suggests that the agency views Wanda and/or Vision to be sentient weapons that could pose a threat. There's also a deep-cut Easter egg in this scene referencing the wider MCU multiverse, when the fake credits for the WandaVision show roll by and we see the name of the director is Abe Brown, one of Peter Parker's classmates. Abe was a Spider-Man character who survived the snap, and this suggests that he's now working for SWORD. And it might even point to Wanda appearing in the next MCU Spider-Man movie, given we know she's already in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, especially as Spider-Man 3 will be featuring the Spider-Man multiverse, with appearances from Alfred Molina's Doc Ock and Jamie Foxx's Electro. There's certainly a lot more to Wanda's nosy neighbour than she's letting on, and given we see her dressed as a witch later in the series, many fans are assuming she's playing the comic book character Agatha Harkness, a witch from Salem, especially as her name Agnes combines the first and last syllables of Agatha Harkness. However, I think this may be almost too obvious and Marvel's planning a little twist and she turns out to be Mephisto, one of Phase 4's next big villains. One of the clues is in how she reacts to Dottie in this scene.
The devil's in the details, Bev.
That's not the only place he is.
And then she has a pet rabbit called Senor Scratchy, which is a big clue because Mr. Scratch is a nickname for the devil. This might also be a reference to Agnes's son in the comics, Nicholas Scratch, a major Fantastic Four supervillain. Agnes even draws attention to Scratch's importance.
Senor Scratchy just loves the stage. He played Baby Jesus in last year's Christmas pageant.
For those unfamiliar, Mephisto is an extremely powerful demonic villain who rules a pocket dimension called Hell in the comics and who seems set to become an important villain in the MCU given the prominent display of a devil in a stained glass window in the Loki trailer. It's also interesting that Agnes constantly jokes in the show about her husband Ralph, who we mysteriously haven't seen yet.
The only way Ralph would remember our anniversary is if there was a beer named June 2nd.
The name Ralph is significant because he's a character from Christopher Marlowe's play Dr. Faustus, who helped conjure devils such as Mephistopheles, who the Marvel villain Mephisto is based on and named after. Another mystery in the show is the identity of the beekeeper who climbs out of a sewer at the end of the second episode. A clue from a new featurette shows that this appears to be a SWORD agent being sent into the pocket dimension that Wanda and Vision are in, as you can see him crawling through a tunnel and then his hazmat suit changes into a beekeeper's costume. Why a beekeeper though? Well, although it may be a reference to the Marvel supervillain Swarm, whose body's made up of bees, bees themselves actually have some specific symbolism that's very appropriate to WandaVision. As pollinators, they're frequently associated with fertility and reproduction, and so linked to Wanda's pregnancy. And in Celtic mythology, bees are regarded as messengers between heaven and earth, or different realms, which is also fitting because the beekeeper's arrival seems to be an attempt from the world outside to make contact with Wanda. Wanda either consciously or intuitively understands this, and when she sees him she says no, and rewinds time back to the moment when she asks Vision if this is really happening. And this time, rather than going outside, she transforms their world into a now colour-filled sitcom reality. Wanda being able to rewind time here for a do-over reminds me of how Vision died twice in Infinity War when Thanos rewound time to undo Wanda's destruction of the Mind Stone, so that he could take the Infinity Stone for himself. More on Wanda's time manipulation powers shortly. The no that Wanda says to the beekeeper may also be a reference to Wanda's famous line, "No more mutants" from the House of M storyline, in which Scarlet Witch caused almost every mutant to lose their powers. Marvel Studios might be looking to subvert this iconic comic book moment by having Wanda be the gateway to bringing mutants and the X-Men into the MCU, so look out for her saying "more mutants" later in the series. And there's another neat reference to the House of M via the wine served at Wanda's dinner party. The bottle's label reads Maison du Mépris, which translates to English as House of Contempt, plus there's a letter M around the neck of the bottle. And WandaVision's credits are a cool visual nod to the way Wanda's mental breakdown in the comics is represented by her disintegrating reality into blocks. There are some especially creepy moments in the second episode when the various residents of Westview chant "For the Children" together.
For the children. For the children.
Then there's Mrs. Hart, who badgers Wanda and Vision about why they don't have children. And the headline on the newspaper that Vision reads says little baby June's first words tickle Mother Sue. Agnes also seems to be very keen on getting Wanda to seduce Vision in the first episode.
What about seduction techniques?
And Dottie's another mysterious character intent on pushing the "for the children" agenda. On top of that, it's particularly disturbing that there aren't even any children around in any of these scenes. However, all of these pressures seem to have worked into brainwashing the couple by the end of episode 2.
And it was all for the children.
And just like that, as if by magic, Wanda discovers she's pregnant, perhaps because she simply decided it. It feels like there's some strange presence at work here lurking in the background, such as Mephisto, who could be looking to take control of Wanda's children, who will undoubtedly be superpowered when they're born. In the comics, when Wanda has children, she discovers they're the outcome of her magic mixing with fragments of Mephisto's soul. Now, the MCU won't be following the comic book storylines exactly, however it often takes elements and inspiration from them, so it's quite likely that Mephisto has something to do with Wanda's pregnancy and children. It's also possible that Wanda made a bargain with the devil to bring Vision back to life, and he'll later try to collect on the deal by taking away her children. Is that what the voice means when it asks Wanda?
Who's doing this to you, Wanda?
The fake ad breaks also provide some more clues as to what may be going on in Wanda's mind and how she may be processing the various traumas she's experienced in her life. The watch commercial advertising Strucker watches is of course a reference to Baron von Strucker, the Hydra leader who experimented on Wanda and her brother Pietro with the Mind Stone.
Strucker, he'll make time for you.
But this is more than just an Easter egg for Marvel fans, as I think it's implying that Wanda may have inherited more powers than we realised from the Mind Stone, including the ability to manipulate and rewind time, which she did after seeing The Beekeeper. And there was another awesome Hydra Easter egg cleverly hidden on the wallpaper in Wanda's home. As she turns everything to colour, you can see the Sokovian Hydra research base where Wanda and her brother were kept, and which the Avengers attacked at the beginning of Age of Ultron. Again, this is Wanda's way of processing this particular trauma. The ad for a Toastmate 2000 by Stark Industries is another traumatic reference for Wanda, because remember that she had an intense hatred for Stark after one of his bombs killed her parents. And listen very carefully during the commercial, because the noise that the toaster makes is the same sound effect that Iron Man's blaster makes as it powers up. And the uncomfortable look on the housewife's face as she waits for the bread to toast may be a nod to how Wanda and Pietro spent 2 days staring at Stark's bomb waiting for it to go off.
We wait for 2 days for Tony Stark
to kill us.
The message at the end of the ad, "Forget the past, this is your future," seems to indicate that Wanda is trying to suppress her painful memories and traumas through this new reality she's created. If you're wondering where Monica Rambeau is in WandaVision, well, she's already appeared on the show, but her character is currently called Geraldine.
I'm Wanda.
I'm, Geraldine.
I actually don't know what I'm doing here.
The loud crash that Wanda and Vision hear at night at the beginning of the second episode is a Sword helicopter that I think Monica Rambeau was piloting, but which crashed through to Westview from the world outside. And it's represented by the red toy helicopter that Wanda picks up the next day with a Sword logo on it. There's a clever reference to this in the magic trick that Vision and Wanda perform later that day, when Geraldine's teleported from behind the stage into the Cabinet of Mysteries. And by the way, a cool detail here on the cabinet artwork is the Mind Stone, which looks like it could be exploding, referencing how Wanda destroyed the Mind Stone in Vision's forehead in Infinity War. Again, this may be another way that Wanda's processing another traumatic event from her life. I also think it's interesting that Vision refers to himself as an illusion in this scene.
Of course it did the trick, right? I'm an illusion!
A possible bit of foreshadowing that this version of Vision may not be who he seems to be at first. In fact, in a recent trailer, I noticed that Wanda and Vision are facing off against each other, so could Vision himself even turn out to be the villain of WandaVision? He is dead after all in the real world, so could this Vision actually be a villain like Mephisto in disguise? And as Illusion's magic assistant, Wanda is called Glamour, perhaps hinting that a glamour or spell's been cast on her or Vision to hide whatever's really going on. And this might be a stretch, but the way that each episode ends with Wanda and Vision enclosed in a hexagon might also be suggesting that a hex has been put on her, a hex being an evil spell that brings bad luck and trouble. On top of that, a hexagon is also six-sided, a hint perhaps to the devil's number 666, together with the fact that this radio is strangely missing a 6. And of course, honeycombs are also often made up of hexagonal formations, a potential reference to the mysterious beekeeper then. A few other Easter eggs you might have missed, which may be significant, include the Grim Reaper's helmet in the second episode's opening credits. The Grim Reaper is a Marvel Comics villain and is rumoured to be appearing in WandaVision. Plus there's a possible Easter egg to Wonder Man, Grim Reaper's brother, in the credits here. So what do you think of WandaVision? And what are your favourite theories about the show? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this, leave a thumbs up, I really appreciate it. Tap left for my next Marvel video and my theory about Black Widow's secret twist, or tap right for something else you're sure to like. Thanks for watching and see you next time, yippee-ki-yay movie lovers!